Panther Nation, thanks for joining us tonight on our normal Tuesday night broadcast. We got a little bit of a different scenario going on tonight. Our main man, the Professor Tony Dunn, is actually doing what I normally do, which he's traveling. He is on the road. He is able to drop in for us here, take a few minutes out of his busy conference schedule to jump in on the podcast here. Tony, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great. The professor is on the road, pounding the pavement, spreading the news, the good news, and it's not really about the Carolina Panthers. It is about the upgrade to CarolinaCatChronicles.com and the C3 podcast. So out here pounding the pavement doing that because there ain't much else to talk about.
Well, there's a lot to talk about. This is a special edition tonight. This is the Panther Fan Rehab Edition. Hello, my name is Mel Mayock. I have a problem.
Hi, Mel.
Thank you.
Mel, welcome to the group.
You know, guys, we're gonna flush this out. We're gonna go around. We're gonna admit that we have a problem. I've learned in my life when I'm addicted to something, you gotta own up to it. You gotta admit it. You can't dance around the bush. You gotta admit it. And if we're gonna get past this, we gotta get all the nastiness, all the venom out of our system, put it out on the table. So we're going to get it all out there. And then we're going to talk about, hey, we're going to realize this is our team. There's been good days before. There will be good days again. I don't know when is, but it is going to be good again. So we're not jumping ship. We're going to get through it. It's part of the process. All right? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the freaking Puerto Rican. He's going to kind of lead the show here, tell us how we're going to get all that venom, all that nasty stuff out of our system.
Well, hello, Panther Nation and fans of the C3 podcast. This is the freaking Puerto Rican, also known as Joe Riolano. I'm here with, as you know, the professor. Happy birthday to you, Tony, by the way, again.
Thank you.
Also, we're joined by the editor-in-chief, Mr. Ken Dye. Say hello, Ken.
Hello, Ken.
Happy birthday, Professor.
Yeah, happy birthday, Tony.
Yeah, right on.
Very nice. This is sort of a.
I hate it, man.
You know, when the professor is at the helm, things are very high tech and very modern. We're sort of doing a Flintstones version of the C3 podcast tonight. We're sort of in the Stone Age, going back to our roots, I guess you could say. Back when it was just Tony and I, and we had no bells and whistles. But that's not what we're here to talk about tonight, the frou-frou and all that sort of stuff. We're here to talk about this team that is so frustrating and so aggravating and just makes you want to go home and kick your dog after you
Maybe you should kill it.
Maybe. But that's what we're here to talk about, and I guess the first thing that I want to bring up is the offense, because that's where I think we're having the biggest struggle, and you know that's saying something because we're struggling in all three phases of the game. Looking at the game last night, you know.
Hey, freaking Puerto Rican, who's the good-looking mug you got to your left there joining us?
He introduced him. Remember, he said he introduced him, and Ken goes, "Hi, Ken."
Yeah.
Well, he told me to say hi, Ken. So
right on.
I know this is the crap you guys do to me, man. See how it feels, Joey? See how it feels.
You told me to do that, Tony. What are you talking about?
No. Joey said, I want to introduce my buddy over here, the editor-in-chief, and he said, say hello, Ken. And he said, hello, Ken. Or it was actually hi. And so he was being a smartass.
Typical fashion for Ken. What I was going to say was, just starting off the game.
Plenty of turnovers.
2 turnovers on the first 3 plays.
Have you ever seen anything like that, Joey?
I'm sure I have. I can't say I've seen it from the Panthers, but I believe as long as I've been watching football, I've seen something like that happen.
It's kind of insane.
It is.
2 turnovers on 3 offensive plays.
Mm-hmm.
Very insane. Talk about putting yourself in the hole. You know,
I mean, D'Angelo Williams, this is a nightmare for him the last 2 seasons. He never fumbles in his career, and all of a sudden, every time he fumbles, it's like the most important thing ever.
right. And
Or disastrous, should I say.
It's not the best way to start a game.
Opening week last year, right, where we lost to the Seahawks.
Exactly. Exactly. And this was a big game for us, you know, national television. As bad as we've been playing, we really wanted to come out and have a good showing, and then boom, we were behind the 8 ball right away. And then to come out and do it again.
All right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that play, Joey, because the fumble for D'Angelo Williams, you know, let's just say, you know, shit happens.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's early in the game. To be honest, and I was thinking about Mel on this a lot, is that somehow, and I saw you put up a tweet today, Mel, where you said, I'm a Pantherholic, I'm on the wagon till about Thursday or something like that, and then I'm sipping the Kool-Aid again. I felt like we played so horrendous for the longest first quarter ever, it felt like. And somehow we were still in the game.
Right there, man.
I mean, it was weird. And so the D'Angelo Williams fumble, let's say that was just then Cam Newton comes out and throws what seemed to be a terrible pass, also a terrible route.
Yeah, the rookie quit on the route. I don't think that was Cam on that one.
I mean, but he did throw it into coverage.
Right, and I think even if the rookie would have kept going on that route, I think the best opportunity he would have had would have been to just break up the play. I don't even know that he would have been able to get the ball. I think that he would have had a chance to keep it from being intercepted. But that
you
might
can
have been
never quit on it. You can never quit on the route.
You're absolutely right. You never do. And I just think it was a combination of that. Plus, it was a bad throw. Regardless of who was at fault, it was another turnover. And right off the bat, we're 3 minutes into the game and we're down 10-0. I think it's pretty amazing if you think about it that we had 2 turnovers and only gave up 10 points. You know, both of us being on our side of the field. So we were still fortunate to be in the game at that point.
Thanks, Dramamine.
I agree.
You know, it was amazing that we were in it at that point, and then we went down and we looked really, really good on offense. That was the one drive of the game where we were like, man, that's who our offense should be, right? We were hitting slants going across the middle. We were hitting Greg Olsen. We were running the ball competently, at least, you know, picking up 5-6 yards, doing our. So I was thinking to myself, hey, going into the second quarter, you're down 10-7. You've had turnovers, played a crappy quarter, but we're in this. We got a shot. But then what?
Yeah, we had a shot. Our team was worth the shit, and they're not. This is where we got to just go ahead and cut to the chase. We suck.
Yeah.
We stink.
We got to put it up, man. We're bad.
I mean, and it's not, and this is the problem. I was trying to think about this today, and I'm trying to think, have I seen a worse Carolina Panthers game? And really, just
there's been worse Panther games.
Yeah, Delhomme, 5 interceptions.
All right. Why is that a worse game? I feel like that is a playoff game, maybe. You could say that. And number 2, one player really had a terrible game. But I don't think it wasn't one thing.
Are you talking about the whole team? Yeah. Well,
yeah, I mean, I feel like at least when we played the Cardinals, we looked kind of like a football team that just had 6 turnovers. This team had turnovers. They gave up 9 sacks. 9 sacks.
That's an astounding number.
Yeah. Do you know I heard Stink on the radio, Mark Schlereth, and he played on a team that went to the Super Bowl, and they played 19 games, and they gave up 9 sacks in a season?
There you go.
Well, they had a quarterback with some pocket awareness from what I've seen. And I've been a defender of Cam's throughout the season until just really right now. I've seen where he's regressing. His footwork isn't consistent. I mean, it's never really been that consistent, but I've seen where, like, from his rookie year to his third year, he started getting it straight. It looked like, and now it's just he's all over the place. He'll make the tantalizing great throw, just to keep you on the edge of your seat. But the rest of the time, either receivers stopping on a route, they're not on the same page. There's just no one thing you can point to. But he doesn't. One other thing is he doesn't drop in the pocket like he's supposed to. That play.
What pocket?
Well, the play where
the problem.
You're supposed to let the pocket try to form around him. If he just stands there, he's too shallow and he'll get bulldozed. That's what happened to Silatolu. They said, "Oh well, Connor Barwin just mauled over him," and no, he fell over Cam's left foot. That's what he did. If you go
I disagree. Go look at that GIF. That dude.
That's what happened.
That guy got slammed like a rag doll.
Yeah, but that's because he was trying to back over. Cam's leg was in the way.
I don't think it was Cam's. I think it was the center.
I'm not defending the offensive line overall, but on that particular play, Cam didn't help. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I know that.
He would have had room and he wouldn't have tripped over him. So it might have been a contest.
I saw at least 3 different offensive linemen get pushed back into Cam Newton.
There's plenty of that. I'm saying.
Did you see D'Angelo just get run over like a rag doll?
Right. He wasn't even.
Whoever you want to talk about, like a rag doll on.
It was a total failure. Total team failure. I mean, the punt return coverage. Where was that? You punted to Darren Sproles right in the middle of the field.
Yeah, it's not like
good coverage.
Yeah, like we're not familiar with him, right? We never heard of that guy.
But we got to get this. We got to talk about all the bad stuff. I mean,
I want to talk about Cam Newton. I want to talk about this. Today I've been listening to a lot of what people have been saying. I hear what Ken is saying, and I want to know this: is Cam Newton the answer? Is he the problem? Do the Carolina Panthers, should they consider moving forward without Cam Newton? And I'm going to turn that over to you guys.
I don't think Cam is the problem. I don't think he's the problem. He could be the answer, but not by himself. I think they said it. I think it was Dilfer last night that said the quarterback is the highest profile position, and he's also the most needy position. Because he's got to have pieces around him in order to be effective. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that firsthand. Look at Andrew Luck. Look, he's got little pieces. He doesn't have, he's got good receivers. He's got an okay line. He's got a decent run game. And look at the success he's having. Okay, Cam Newton doesn't have any of that, and he's failing. And as an organization, we have failed him. As a general manager, Dave Gettleman has failed him. Yep. And I've got a lot to say about Dave Gettleman later in the show, because that's really where a lot of my anger lies.
Well, here's a question for you. Could Cam Newton turn into David Carr?
I think
no. No way.
I think, if he keeps it up at the rate that he's going, the potential is there. I saw a stat today that said Cam Newton has been hit 531 times since coming into the league. Now, albeit part of that is his running style. Right. That you got to take that into consideration. But the next highest was only 272.
I'm telling you,
he don't run the ball that much.
He don't run the ball that much. No,
right, and that's mostly because of ineptitude in the offensive line.
So, here's what I say. He is not the problem, but he is not the answer either.
Right.
He is a piece of the problem.
So what do you do? Do you move on?
No.
I think
he's talking too early now. I mean,
he's a piece of the. He's way too talented to move on, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to stay with him and give him at least a fighting chance. You're defending him on the edges with 2 guys who weren't even drafted in the NFL. Mm-hmm. One of them wasn't even drafted in a different position in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's not drafted as a defensive tackle. Now he's starting as a right tackle. And I've been saying since before day one, Byron Bell has no business being a tackle. And then when they moved him to the left side, I said that's a recipe for disaster. I've said that from the get-go. And
Yes, you have.
look at what happened. Here we are.
And another problem is we have zero speed at wide receiver. You've got nobody that can create separation.
Zero.
So when you got a line that is terrible and no speed at wide receiver, you cannot then turn around and say Cam Newton's the problem.
Yeah.
He's got his issues, but it's because of the problems around him.
He's got nowhere to go with the ball.
Yeah, fix the house.
Here's what I got to say about it. I got to say about this is that I've listened to the Cam hate. I feel like Cam Newton is one of those guys that you either have to, be critical of, or you have to be like, you have to work to defend him. So that is a struggle for fans. But when I look at what we have done for Cam Newton, on his best year, our offensive line was average.
Right.
In his best statistical season, his best receiver was an aging Steve Smith. There has been, I won't say that it's, yes, Cam has had bad games, and he has had a series of bad games. Yes, he struggles mentally to shake things off. He is a guy that has trouble shrugging off difficulty. Like, if things don't start good or start well, he struggles to get out of that emotional funk.
He doesn't have the short memory that you need that you're talking about. That's what you're saying.
Right. The other thing is that, I don't know if you guys noticed, my wife pointed it out to me when the national anthem was being sung yesterday. Cam Newton was over there, and his lips were moving, and he won't sing the national anthem. That dude was praying. And I'm not saying, it's nothing critical about prayer, but what I thought is I was like, oh, crap. He feels so much pressure to do everything. And you know what? It's not that he's making this pressure up. It's real. There is nothing to help him at all. So when the one thing that and this is what I'm going to defend against, I think what Ken offered as reasonable criticism of Cam Newton, poor footwork, doesn't do what you're supposed to do in the pocket. But the problem is there's never been a consistent opportunity for him to do that. So how do you learn those skills? How do you improve upon that when 9 out of 10 times it's just a shitstorm?
Well, we saw that. We saw the improved footwork. We saw the mechanics that, we've been wanting to see from him early in the season. We saw it in week 1 and in week 2.
He played lights out.
Yeah, he had the good footwork. He was stepping over his front foot on his throws. It was what we've been wanting to see, and then it just fell apart. The offensive line got hurt, and I think that's a big part of it too. If we would have had the same 5 guys in here this whole time, we would be better than we are right now. But with all the injuries, this line has never had a chance to form some kind of cohesion.
A tweet from a follower, Abby, saying it's just unacceptable not to protect Cam because he's too valuable to let get maimed the way he is right now.
Right, and that's so true. It is so true. You gotta. That's the first thing I saw today. I was watching something, and they said that the Carolina Panthers are the only NFL team without a drafted offensive tackle on their roster. That sounds crazy. Think about that.
It was that way after the season last year.
Right. And it just sounds crazy. You have this Pro Bowl left tackle that you alienate. You make him retire because you want to restructure his deal. So you make him retire, and then you bring in Byron Bell to replace him. And then you bring in a defensive tackle to play your other offensive tackle. Mm-hmm. And this is what really bothers me, is we have paid talent evaluators on this staff, and they went to the coaches, to Dave Gettleman, and said, yes, these guys are good enough to start and play in the NFL.
When Ken, sitting there in his chair, says from day one, it was a recipe for disaster. So, Ken, I think you need a job over there at Bank of America Stadium.
I think so too, Ken.
No, I was just thinking when Joey was talking, I mean, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to have seen that one coming. I mean, come on.
Right.
So
right.
let's talk about the talent on this. Let's talk about this offensive line because, you know, this was the talk before the beginning of the season, Joey, is it was offensive line and a bunch of unknowns, and then also the wide receivers, a bunch of unknowns. And we tried our best to drink the Dave Gettleman Kool-Aid I feel stupid for believing that any of this really could have worked at all. Because I'm not sure that even Peyton Manning could do much better.
No, he couldn't.
And, I mean, if the windows aren't there, like, okay, maybe he throws a couple better checkdowns, and maybe he throws a couple of more hot routes, or he throws open a couple of more receivers. But you know what Peyton Manning would be if he was a Carolina Panther?
Crippled.
Paralyzed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he is one hit away from being paralyzed. He really is close to being it. He would be paralyzed. So when you say this, Joey, is that, and like Ken's right, it doesn't take a brain surgeon. We never should have. This never would have worked.
Never.
It wouldn't have worked if what Dave Gettleman did. Dave Gettleman said this: I'm going to just sacrifice. And I'm gonna place my bets on people. I'm gonna place it on Greg Hardy. We're gonna rent him for a year, and we're probably not even gonna sign him to a long-term deal, but just rent him for 1 year until Gettleman could think he could get his master plan involved. And then 2, he said, I'm gonna put a bunch of scrubs in front of Cam Newton because Cam Newton is built like a Sherman tank and mobile, and we're just.
Yeah,
That was the plan. That was the plan. That's a non-plan.
I live in Las Vegas, right? I mean, this reminds me of somebody who comes into town, gets some house money, gets lucky, goes 12-4, takes their $10,000 in winnings, walks over to the craps table, puts it all on black, and figures it's going to work out for them. And they stand back and they brag about how smart they are that they put it all on black, and they lose. That's why one person every week commits suicide in Las Vegas. So as a Panther fan,
That's
David
nice.
Gettleman came
Don't
out.
commit suicide, Panther Nation. Lesson number 1.
That's
We
what-
are here
that's
for
what I'm
you.
That's why we're having these meetings.
saying. That's it.
Every Tuesday night. This went from the C3 podcast to the C3 Anonymous group. But, all right, how is this supposed to work? I mean, how much? I think we should just go ahead. Let's go ahead and just use another example. The secondary. Roman Harper looks like a dinosaur, dude.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like a professional athlete. He doesn't look nimble. He doesn't look quick. He can't even jump over
Grandpa Harper.
can't even jump over whatever that stick is. So Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Jack jumped over not jack shit.
The camel's
That
dead.
is the thing. Joey, did they sign him? Did they sign him without looking at him?
Right. Well, they knew what they were getting. They knew they were getting an older, and being kind, an older player who they had hoped, I think, would just play mostly like first and second down and come out in passing situations. But that plan failed too. Dave Gettleman and his almighty, all-knowing football acumen dropped the ball again. He thought that, you know, he could play him part-time and then bring in someone else on passing downs. Well, that hasn't worked out, and we've had to play this old man, you know, for most of the season. And you can see where our secondary ranks because of
Who
it.
did he think was going to play when he wasn't on the field?
I was thinking, my guess is he thought Lester or Godfrey or
Where was Trey Boston?
Austin, yeah, one of those guys. Was
All right. What do you think about this? Now, all right, so Ken has pointed out that the offensive line, no drafted people other than Ryan Khalil on that offensive line. One guy didn't even play offensive line when he went into the NFL.
Well,
Then you get a patch.
You know,
That's true.
right. I mean, they've got some guys that they drafted high, like Khalil and Silatolu, but at the tackles, no, they don't have any drafted players.
Okay, and all right, and Trey Turner. But here, that's exactly my point too. Is that going to all right? So who's going to play when Harper's not on the field? Robert Lester, Trey Boston. Then you got Ben A. Have you ever seen a game plan that placed so much emphasis on people with so little experience in the NFL?
Now,
I mean, think about it. Our number one receiving option is a rookie. Our guard, Trey Turner, rookie. Trey Boston, rookie. I mean, come on, that can't work.
Hey, hang on. Now, here's the one area I'll stand up for Gettleman. All right, the reason we're relying so much on rookies is because he inherited salary cap hell. We are paying so much money to running backs that are not producing and to defensive ends that are not producing, one that's not even there. And we got so much dead money in Steve Smith. That's why I'm wearing the jersey. And a lot of other players, like I think we might still be paying for John Beeson. I mean, we got a lot of salary cap hell that we got to get through. We've had to rely on rookies, on low-price options. That's a big problem that we will one day fix.
Well, just to remind you, we didn't have to get rid of Steve Smith.
No. The biggest problem I have with Dave Gettleman is we had 3 players last year that really cared about winning and losing. When you saw interviews, if we were losing, these guys were pissed off. Well, 4 guys if you count Cam Newton. But Steve Smith, the Kraken, and Mike Mitchell. Those were fire plugs that just were pissed off at losing. They're all 3 gone. The Kraken.
Did you guys see what Mike Mitchell did?
Yeah, crazy.
Well, explain it to me. I just read about it, but I just read that he tried to jump over the offensive line and strip the ball.
When they were in the victory formation.
No.
Polamalu would run over and jump over the center as he's snapping the ball.
But the game was over, and they were like giving up, and Mike Mitchell said, "Screw this! I'm trying to pad my stats with a strip."
Basically,
like Keanu type move.
Would he have gotten a sack?
He could have caused a fumble and gotten a turnover.
Right. Or he could have been considered a really big.
But that's that fire plug. That's the guy that's, Josh Norman is like that on this team, and he's probably. But here's the thing: all of this is that okay? I want to buy this. I want to buy all this crap about the salary cap hell and this and that. But what team in the NFL doesn't have these problems?
Oh, there's quite a few. Philadelphia doesn't have that problem.
Right. Well, I mean, and we do have cap issues, but at the same time, this plan that they went into the season with was destined for failure. Yeah. There was no way this plan was going to work.
Even when it went perfectly, it was flawed. So then you throw in a couple of injuries.
For those of you that are old enough to remember this, really, but the UNC Tar Heels basketball team, when they had the great starting 5 with James Worthy and Michael Jordan, they went and they won the national championship. The thing is, they relied so much on those starting 5 that they didn't have any kind of a bench. And if I remember during the season, if 1 or 2 of those guys got into foul trouble or something, they had to go to the bench. They just exploded. And that's kind of an analogy to what we saw last year. Maybe is you saw all the great, the best players playing their best, like our front 7, and getting the most out of our offense. And I think all of that's kind of fallen apart. Maybe it was an epiphany last year that was only good for a year. I don't know. But I do know that we need some coaching problems. We've got some coaching problems. We've got some coaching issues showing up all over the place on the field, and I'm getting tired of it.
All right. Well, let me
talk about that.
Let me take a second and talk about the lone highlight on the defense from this year. I think, for me personally, has been the play of Josh Norman. Yes, he was a little dinged up. but when he's on the field, he's really been impressive.
Difference maker, yeah.
He has.
Only highlight. Don't forget my boy Thomas Davis. He is an animal.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about coming out of nowhere, so to speak. You know,
Colin Jones has been all right, and Short. I think Short has had a good season.
Yeah.
Yes. But for me, I think the surprise of the season has been Josh Norman because he is perennial preseason All-Pro. You know, and then when the season started, he would just sit on the bench, and you never heard from him again. But this year, he's been impressive.
Yep.
Okay, but that was just, I guess, the lone positive. Last night we made Jordan Matthews look like Jerry Rice reincarnate.
He is going to be good, though. That dude is legit, and I picked him to be Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Like, I know we were looking at him as a potential pick.
Yep.
All right. I think that's a good point, though, Joey, is how good did he look? And when I watched this game, Joey, I saw, and maybe this is just a homer in me, but I didn't see a Philadelphia team that played 45 to 14 football. I mean, really, I felt like I don't think they were as good as I think we made them look awesome. I mean, anybody could look good when Darren Sproles walks into the end zone after Riley Cooper mashes Mario Addison on the ground. So you got a wide receiver that truck blocks a dang defensive end. You've got, I mean, I don't think they were that good. I mean, Sanchez had a great game, but he threw 52% or some mess like that.
Hey, I bet Green Bay.
Like he had three.
He was like 20 and 37, I think. Yeah.
Green Bay will destroy them this Sunday, I think. I agree with you.
Right.
Great.
We definitely helped them to look better than they actually were because we're that bad. I mean, let's be honest. We made Connor Barwin look like Lawrence Taylor, for crying out loud.
Oh, my God. I was just thinking about him riding his bike.
He was unblockable. I mean, you couldn't do anything to slow him down.
Just think of the good things. All of these stats that these guys are getting against us, it'll just pad their own stats, so when they get their contracts up, it'll cost their teams more money, and they won't be able to pay more guys to beat us.
And, hey, is this going to help us get a lower contract for Cam Newton?
I mean,
no.
I think you're going to get him a couple of mafia guys, some mob guys, and just pay off the officials. Okay, 13 guys on the field for the Carolina Panthers, that's fine.
My question, how about this is
standing next to him when he goes back for a pass.
There's two things I do want to talk about related to that, the Cam Newton contract, just briefly, and then I want to talk about the coaching staff. But I just want to know this, is that if we don't get better quick, what's going to make Cam Newton want to stay in Charlotte?
Nothing.
Well, he's guaranteed to be here for the next 2 years. So what's going on right now really has got very little to do with what happens when he has to make that decision. What we do in the next 2 years is going to make that difference.
Right, but if you don't change something in a hurry, I mean, you're thinking this, is that what about Dallas Cowboys? In 2 years, they're going to be looking for a quarterback.
Yeah, but in next year, we're going to be a little bit better cap-wise. If we go out and make the right moves next year, and then 2 years from now, I think we have, $43 million in cap space? Make the right move there, put some playmakers around Cam. We're a 12-4 football team 2 years from now. He's going to forget about what happened in 2014.
Maybe we should sign Champ Bailey next year. Maybe that will fix everything.
Get Ed Reed, too.
Yeah, well played.
I think I know a wide receiver that's got some speed down in South Carolina. It's down in the Charleston area. He's a former wide receiver.
No, not any more speed. You kidding me? My son's 8 years old, and he'll outrun me.
All right.
We get Sterling Sharp, too. Why don't we all at it?
Okay, I mentioned earlier, this is the worst Panther game I've ever seen. And I know Kim brought up the playoff game. There was another game. I put out a piece on C3 late last night after the game. Was this the worst Monday night football game ever? and it wasn't statistically, but it could have been until that garbage time. I mean, with 12 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, I mean, we were it was the fourth worst score ever in Monday Night Football history. So
the worst game was when the Jets came back to beat the Dolphins. That had to have been horrible. Oh gosh.
But
to me, the worst game was Randy Fasani getting a 0 quarterback rating for us. That was the worst game.
Our worst game.
I was at the game. Jimmy Clausen was quarterback. I sat on the 5th row. We played the Saints, and it was 33-3 in that game. And I thought that was a terrible game. But this is the difference between that game with the Saints and the game that I watched on Monday night, is that there was a lot on the line in the Monday night game, and we have some real talent on this team in some key positions: linebacker, defensive tackle, quarterback. I mean, maybe you could say Benjamin at wide receiver, but that did not translate on the field to any NFL caliber performance. So I think with Jimmy Clausen, I knew what I was going to get. I mean, they came out there and laid a big, stinky pile of shit.
Right.
When he was drafted, I never thought he had a whole lot of talent. It was kind of cocky, you know. I mean, he was the one that
He's dumb.
Chucky bombed out on his interview. He said, "This film's a disgrace to you and the school and all that."
And he looked like this. His eyes were like.
Good.
Piece on him before the game. They said he was the NFL player most likely to leave the team and go work for Santa Claus.
Nice. But was that disappointing to anybody else that, you know, the Saints lost? You know, I mean, there's this real opportunity. This is what Rivera is saying. A team on the cusp, a couple of different plays, a couple of different things, and that we're in this, but we never were.
No, and he says that every week. He says that every week. Oh, a couple of plays here and there, a couple of ball bounces the other way.
And I believed that a couple weeks ago, and I think it was true a couple weeks ago. But at some point, it becomes, you know, a trend, and it's an avalanche at this point. I don't know if these guys can turn it around.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like you say there. It's just kind of everything's bad, and it's building on itself like rolling downhill like a snowball. Just kept gathering more and more momentum. It's going to go to the bottom of the canyon or whatever. Just sit there.
It's like a fantasy team, man. If I would have just scored 10 more points every week, I would have won most of them.
Right, exactly. Right.
Oh, well, man, if I would have just ran a 40 a second faster, I might have a different career.
Exactly.
Is Ron Rivera, how much of this should fall on Ron Rivera?
10%.
10%? That's it?
Yep.
Why? Tell us why.
My opinion, I mean, yes, you got some of these decisions, some of these coordinator issues that are going on, the play calling, et cetera, but when you've got the talent in place, this is just like what I was telling Karasik last week on the Southbound and Down podcast on Wednesday nights. Tune in tomorrow night, by the way. When you don't have the talent on the field and your players are injured, don't turn around then and blame it all on the coach. Because when his horses are in the game and then he fails to deliver, then you've got a real problem at the coaching staff. You're not going to outcoach the injuries and the lack of talent on your offensive line. You're just not.
But that happens. It exists. It's real. It's not like, I mean, did anybody watch his press conference today?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't.
He looked defeated.
Yeah.
He did.
And I'll tell you, though, like,
has he lost the locker room?
His talent sucks, you know. So I mean, his horses are not in the fight, so you can't blame him all the way. To fire him because he doesn't have the horses.
By the same token, though, Aaron, you guys think, you know, it's coaching that makes the receivers not finish their routes. It's coaching that makes Cam Newton stay there in the pocket and not drop to his spot like he's supposed to, so he can at least be tried to be blocked for. It's all these things put together.
I don't buy that.
I mean, there's just a lot of that going on.
Has he lost the locker room?
I think that's a good question.
I think losing causes any locker room to be lost. I don't think it's the coach per se.
It's what it is people, they need to have some people step up and make plays and show some life so that the others, the rest of them, can pick up and believe in themselves again.
Yeah.
It's psychological as much as anything at this point, because even at the NFL level, the difference in talent from an undrafted starter like Bell, to a 6th or 7th round pick who sticks, it really isn't that huge. The fact he's forced into starting and maybe in over his head, so be it. But at least we should be able to run up the middle, do play action passing, things like that. Cam I don't think is healthy. There's a lot of other things going on. You could point to just about anywhere and you'd hit the mark right now. So.
Great facts. T Money's chiming in. He's saying that Champ Bailey would be better than Colin Jones.
Colin Jones has had some highlights.
I thought he's played. I think he's played better than damn Deku. Speaking of Deku and that jackass celebrating.
Yeah, what was up with that?
We were down 31 points, and he's celebrating.
That's tacky.
I guess he was trying to pick up the team then a little later.
That dude is. I've got something about his gender to say about him, but I can't say it because I shouldn't be like that. But when it comes to the locker room, Joey, I feel like Mel has been a guy that's always really been against the idea of coach turnover. And I do think there's something to that, is that whenever you're just rotating in, you got to hit, everything's got to hit on all cylinders. So you can't just say, well, you have no talent, you have injuries, and you didn't get it done. But here's the thing, is the Carolina Panthers were really in that game. It wasn't we were down by 10.
Right, there was a point, yes. Right.
And there's two things. What do you say? What does he say in that locker room? Why does he not talk on the sidelines?
Right.
He never says the damn word. So he's not coaching. He's just letting everybody else suck.
He's too reserved. You need to see more out of him.
I don't need him to be yelling at him, people, right. But here's the thing, is that he needs to be over there telling the defense, hey, the offensive line sucks a big fatty.
Right.
Here's the other thing, is that, I think there is something to coaching that that Byron Bell stinks. Mm-hmm. But you got to make that dude at least try.
You got to challenge him. But that's it. That's one thing that they were saying. That's one of the things I was hearing them say today was, we're so bad that we have no depth. So the guys that are starting are like, look, go ahead, take me out. The guy behind me is worse. I'm terrible, but the guy behind me is worse. So I know you're not going to take me out of the game because, there's no depth on this team. You can't challenge the guys because there's nobody behind them to come in. So he's fighting a losing battle there too.
I have not been against Ron Rivera until this week, and I'm just starting to wonder, does he really got it? This is his fourth year, and he's had one good season.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And was that season more luck, or was it good coaching?
Hey, his coaching turned that season around. You got to admit, going for it, 4th and down, the riverboat run.
You don't win 8 in a row out of just luck.
Right, but
no, but it's not like he wasn't game planning something special. He wasn't doing. What he did was he got pressured by the media to go for it on 4th down, and it worked. He didn't want to, and then it worked, and then he started doing it.
Actually, a lot of times
that got him 15 sacks.
That's a separate discussion there.
And he had a defensive end that got him 15 sacks.
Yes.
He had the right.
A defense that got him 64 sacks. What kind of coaching do you need to do when you're that good? The other thing is this.
What kind of coaching can you do when you're this bad? That's the flip side.
That's where you really have to. That's where you test your mettle as a coach. That's
Yeah,
where
coach.
you
You got to pare down your game plan and just concentrate on some simpler plays.
Put Bill
Doing those
Belichick.
as well as you can, and trying to rely on the defense if you can fix the defense, because that's what the strength has been coming in.
right, and that's his strength. That's the coach's strength. The
Yeah.
coach is known as a defensive guy,
I
and
mean,
you're missing one player, and your whole defense falls apart. You go from number 2 in the league to number 25 in the league.
go from number 2 to smelling like number 2.
That's not from smelling, just from being to being.
To being, exactly, you are. So there's something to be said there. And I want to go on from Coach Rivera to Gettleman and say that I'm very angry with Dave Gettleman, because all in the preseason and all in the training camp you hear him talk. He's funny with the media, the blue goose, the answers on the roster, all this other crap. And now where is he? Where is he now? Where is he?
He's hiding.
He's in Nantucket.
At least Marty Herney,
Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, brother.
At least Marty Herney stood up and took the criticism.
Right, and he would go on the radio shows and talk to the fans and let people would call him out on the radio.
Yep.
But at least he was a man and he showed up. Where's Gettleman at?
A year ago, if somebody had said that we'd be sitting here talking up Marty Herney over David Gettleman, I would have said you're nuts.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Well, can I point out one point related to that, and that is, where was he also when the Greg Hardy mess went down?
Mm-hmm.
Who did they trot out there to deal with that in the middle of training camp? Who did they force to handle all the PR on that? Ron Rivera. And this is the one thing that makes me question: is Ron Rivera really going to be the coach of the Carolina Panthers beyond next year? And I don't even know at this point. I think there's a shot he's not even the coach next year. And the reason is that Dave Gettleman, if this was his guy, he would be taking a little bit more of the pressure off of Ron Rivera when it comes to deflecting the criticism that the media is giving him, that we're giving him, and he's not making any effort. Mm-hmm. He made Ron Rivera take away from his football time, take away from trying to develop Brenton Burson into being a freaking starter. The guy's slow as damn molasses. And he's not over there working on the X and O's. He's not over there helping the guys get better. He's out there talking about Greg Hardy. I think that's Dave Gettleman's job.
Yeah.
I hear you.
So I think like that, you got a point when you put it like that. Yeah.
Dave Gettleman has stepped out away from the spotlight, because I bet if this team was 12-4 or on pace to be 12-4, he'd be all in the papers. He'd be talking plenty. But where is he now? Where is he
out of the spotlight now? That's gotten hot for him.
Right. He can't take the heat, so he stepped out of the kitchen, and it's really pissing me off. It really is, because he owes.
Do you know Jonathan Jones? Jonathan Jones from the Charlotte Observer says they've been trying to get meetings with him and to get talk. And by the way, Jonathan Jones, that's Dave Gettleman's little boy. Like, that's his guy that he leaks the information to.
Uh-oh.
That's the guy that Dave Gettleman, because they have a good relationship, because Jonathan Jones is the new reporter, and so he is nice. He's the nice reporter. He hates Joe Person. That's the one they don't like. And Dave Gettleman, he tried to put on this mystique that he was going to take a step back from the media last year and all this, but I saw him last year. I saw him talking. Mm-hmm. It might not have been a ton, but he ain't been around at all. He's a ghost.
I tell you, Tony, what you've just made me think about, and I'll just be brief here, but what you made me think about is a political campaign that's sinking. And what happens when a political campaign is sinking, or you've got a politician that's just done something that looks bad? They need a fall guy. Who's the obvious fall guy?
Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
There you have it.
Are you telling me Tom Coughlin's going to be here next year?
Huh?
Tony, are you telling me Tom Coughlin's going to be here next year?
No. Ken, tell him who I want.
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh.
That's who I wanted before Rivera, but I don't know, man. Well, you know, it will never happen.
Here, listen to my logic on this. Jim Harbaugh is a He's a quarterback's guy, though. He made Alex Smith great or better. He rejuvenated his career. He's made Colin Kaepernick good. He has been successful. Here's the other thing, is that we need Jim Harbaugh to tell Dave Gettleman that it is effing unacceptable to have Nate Chandler and Byron Bell as your starting tackles.
So if Jim Harbaugh could have came here 4 years ago and brought Andrew Luck with him, but decided not to, and they both avoided Carolina, what makes you think he's coming here next year?
Great.
Well, now that is an excellent point, is that if did he avoid it? Because I firmly believe that Andrew Luck purposely avoided Carolina. So
I'm with you.
Yep.
So you're right. I mean, I don't think he is, but I think that would. Well, I don't know, but it's not. If Tom Coughlin becomes our coach, man, I'm out.
All right, I'm gonna move things along here. Let me say that you are watching the Carolina Cat Chronicles.com podcast every Tuesday, 10 p.m. It is the Panthers fan support group meeting. Because Lord knows we need it. There's just nothing to be cheerful for on this Tuesday evening. We spent a lot of time on the Panthers, rightly so, because this team is in shambles. We have no direction. We have no identity. We have no offensive line. We have no GM. Our GM has vanished. I'm putting out an APB on Dave Gettleman. Will someone please report when they find Dave Gettleman?
Put him on a milk carton.
Tell him to draft offensive tackles and defensive backs and leave us alone.
It takes more than somebody being left-handed to be your left tackle.
Yes, it does. That's not a qualification for playing left tackle. I want to move on to this coming Sunday's game. This coming Sunday's game is against the Atlanta Falcons in Charlotte. God forbid Atlanta beats us and the Saints lose. Atlanta is now in first place in the division. How ironic would that be?
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
At this rate, it's going to happen.
Yeah. It's very possible. It's very possible. And it's disgusting because I will never hear the end of it from a certain Scott Karasik.
The offensive line is hard.
And the defense is a big question for me too. Finally playing them, we might actually be able to get something going.
Yeah, we might be playing the guys that are like us.
Right. Is Mike Smith coaching for his job there in Atlanta?
I think
no, he's lame duck.
You think it's over for him already?
Over anyway. Well, I'll go with that.
What if they win the NFC South?
At 6-10.
Yeah, or 7-9.
6-10.
What if they did, hypothetically speaking? Can you fire?
Well, that would mean we would have to. I don't know. We couldn't be 5-10-1 because then we'd win. So
right.
It'd have to be 4-11-1.
Yes, you can fire a coach that wins the division like that. They fired Marty Schottenheimer. He went 14-2.
Smith too.
They fired Lovie Smith last year. He went 10-6 in Chicago. Look at him now, or 2 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And they're going to fire Ron Rivera. He's going to be the first one in history that was ever Coach of the Year, and fired the next.
Is their offensive line better than ours?
F in NFL stands for fickle.
Hey, Susan on Twitter tweets in and says Rimmers is the solution. Put him in there on the offense.
Oh my gosh! Yay! Another guy that's never played ever.
Maybe we can get Brett Favre out of retirement. Maybe he can be our quarterback.
Maybe I could play left tackle. Maybe put Jordan Gross and his skinny ass back out there.
We can get Jamarcus Russell to play left tackle.
Even at 240 pounds, Jordan Gross might be better than Byron Bell.
I agree. Joey, your question about the Atlanta Falcons and Mike Smith. I think Mike Smith's gone, even if they win the NFC South. I also, their offensive line, that was your next question. Yes, they are better than ours because the Matthews kid is up, got the pedigree. He's top 5 pick.
When healthy, he's solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and just to say, I mean, as a rookie, I mean, he's been better than what we have on our team. Okay, maybe we got a better center, but that doesn't help when everybody else sucks around him. And he's had a
Kelvin Benjamin's pretty good. I mean, he's got his flaws, but he's pretty good. Pretty good.
Oh, you know what? But we have no chance at stopping Julio Jones. Zero.
Well,
none.
We have a chance if Josh Norman's covering him, and he's playing.
No.
And he's playing like he has been. I mean, we have a chance.
Hire Mike Tomlin to stand on the sideline.
If the defensive tackles get pressure on Meg Ryan, I should say. If Meg Ryan gets pressure, then we got a chance to stop Julio Jones. If Meg Ryan had the same type of time that Sanchez did last night, we are done. We've got no shot next week.
No, yeah, well, that's the NFL defense, I think, in a nutshell, is if you get pressure on the quarterback, you've got a chance to slow down or stop the offense. If you don't get pressure on the quarterback, they're going to carve you up.
That's why but that sounds awesome. It sounds awesome, but you know what the problem with it is? They're going to get pressure on us. It don't matter if they suck at the pass rush or not. Is that anybody? Byron Bell, I saw him not touch people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He would go and.
Yeah. I saw the same thing.
Well, that scene out of The Longest Yard.
To get run over, you know?
It's like the scene out of The Longest Yard where the offensive line doesn't move when the quarterback says hike, and the defense all blows by them.
Yeah.
The quarterback. It's just like that. That's just what it reminded me of.
Or Heffington wait when the guy takes over the team. Yeah,
I don't care how bad Byron Bell is. How is that? Has he never played offensive line before? Because all you do is try to stop people from going by you. That's the only objective.
Well, he's slow. He doesn't have any lateral agility.
No, but he didn't even touch it. He would do this. He wouldn't even like.
I probably saw the play you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean that looked like it was coached. Like it was kind of like that play where that guy fell down and played dead in college. You know what I'm saying? like they told Byron Bell, look, you will confuse them by not trying. No, it's not confusing. That's what you. Okay. Sorry.
You'll try to misdirect them by missing your block. Make them confused.
Is our defense good enough to beat Atlanta, or is their defense good enough to beat us?
Oh, I think it's who plays like the Marx Brothers least.
I think with our offensive line, we could make them look pretty good on defense.
But then again, their offensive line could make our defense look good. So let's hope there's more of that.
No, it's not a toss-up. It's not a toss-up. We're gonna. I mean, we suck, and they might not.
Supposedly, we have better players on defense even without Hardy or CJ.
No, that's true. I think you have a point.
I agree, but here's the thing: is that their offense has better players than our offense can't score.
Right.
We can't score when it matters. We're allergic to the red zone. We're allergic to the end zone. Our receivers, and I don't think we've mentioned this, but I think we write this off as too much as just the offensive line. But our receivers, they don't get any separation. Zero.
No speed.
I mean, they are covered by dudes that are mediocre. So here's the only thing we got going for us, Joey, is that the Atlanta Falcons secondary is actually pretty good with Trufant leading the helm. Maybe our receivers are so slow that it throws them off their game.
So slow they actually hit us too early and we get a pass.
Our strategy is to suck bad enough to throw off the
you know what I call it? You know what I call that strategy? The ghetto plan.
Ghetto plan. There you go.
Because it's true. It really is true. Jericho Cotchery, look, tell me any team in the NFL where our starting receivers would even be the second receiver on a team. And I'm saying Benjamin. Benjamin shouldn't be the number one.
The
He
Jets.
shouldn't have to be.
Yeah, the Jets. I mean, I think we suck about as bad as them.
I think we have a team of backups.
Mm-hmm.
No, I still think Benjamin's got room to be a pretty good player, if not a star in this team.
He's a rookie, right?
Tomorrow. I mean, you're talking about how bad we suck, and I'm saying, well, we got a couple of bright spots. We just
don't have any depth. We don't have any depth.
No, we don't.
Here, Dan Rollinson from the UK posted an interesting question to me on Twitter, and I avoided it because I didn't know what to say. Would we, if we had the opportunity at 28 to pick Cooks or Benjamin, knowing what we know now, what would our pick be?
I gotta admit, I had Cooks rated higher. I would have taken Cooks because
knowing now, not speculating, but what you've seen.
I would still take Benjamin because of the size and his ability to go up and get the ball. I'm not going to easily forget him going up over Richard Sherman and between him and Earl Thomas and grabbing that ball. I mean, that's just flashing potential all over the place.
I'm happy we got Benjamin.
With some room, he can really flourish.
Man, we need speed. We need speed bad. We should never have gotten rid of Steve. Yeah, that was true.
I was a big proponent. I was a big proponent of getting rid of Steve Smith when they made the move, but now I look back at it and I think it was a bad move. I think
Joey, who would you pick, Benjamin or Cooks?
I am a fan of speed. I think speed rules in the NFL, so I probably would go with Cooks.
Ken.
But no, I'm just the opposite. It's going to bigger receivers these days. 6'5", 240. That's a tweener between him and the tight receiver.
Right, and I like that about Benjamin.
Find little fast guys for the slot anywhere.
He has the most inconsistent hands right now. He does. His hands are very inconsistent.
Yeah, one good hit to Cooks and he's gone. I mean, everybody's going to have weaknesses.
Well, look, Benjamin's already missed a game because of a concussion, hasn't he?
Yeah, because we just throw him out there to get
He's being
slaughtered.
double covered now, though. I mean, how do you draw double cover if you suck?
No, not saying that he sucks. Nobody's saying that.
Not at all. I'm not saying he sucks. Not at all.
No.
I don't see Brandon Cooks getting double teamed. It's Jimmy Graham.
Well, there ain't nobody. They barely got one person that can cover Cooks, let alone two.
Well, it's even harder to cover Graham. So,
Mel, what do you think? Who's your pick?
Well, I think both of them are great, and I think both of them are going to have great careers. But knowing what I know now, I would go with Benjamin because Cam throws the ball high.
mm-hmm.
I think he's a good fit for Cam Newton.
I think so too. And
I think that's a reason. I think that's a good point.
Benjamin fan to begin with. So.
No, me either. And I'm not still necessarily for two reasons. I mean, I like him. I'm not. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not ready to just say he's the next coming because he doesn't make anything after the catch. Nothing happens after the catch. And in the NFL, I think you need some of that.
You talking about Benjamin?
Yeah.
Well, even though it was garbage time, that slant where he scored his first touchdown
That was pretty impressive.
he ran over three guys.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive.
I mean, you can't really go against that.
All right.
I think everybody was having.
He's not really. I mean, it's just his size that's awesome. But this is why I'm gonna say Cooks, and I'm gonna say it reluctantly because I do think you're right. I think with Cam Newton, man, I think he needs that Benjamin. The problem is we need Benjamin and Cooks. That's what we need.
Yeah, two of each.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Smith ain't as fast as we're trying to make him out here tonight.
He's a 4.6 guy now.
Yeah, but here's the thing this is where we have underestimated the regression of the Carolina Panthers. Our special teams suck.
Mm-hmm.
And at least Brandon Cooks can catch a punt.
Well, at least we can trick people into bumping into Philly Brown so we can find a present and run for a touchdown.
Yeah, we'll take that every game if they give it to us.
I would rather be lucky than good because right now we're not good.
All right, so I'm going to move on. You know, we've covered the Panthers extensively. We've touched on the Falcons here a bit. This is the Carolina Cat Chronicles.com podcast. We are here every Tuesday night, 10 o'clock. And I want to also mention the premiere podcast, Southbound and Down, Wednesday nights at 10. You'll see some of these same faces on there. Plus, we have a representative from each of the NFC South teams. That's always a lot of fun. I can't wait to hear what Scott Karasik has to say tomorrow night. Make sure you check out the new site, folks. CarolinaCatChronicles.com is moving on up to the top. The deluxe apartment in the sky. All right.
Cam Newton's our neighbor.
You tell him we do.
Tony Dunn has put in some serious work, folks. Go check out the site and let him know what you think. He really does.
It looks 100% greater.
It's such an upgrade over where we were. Not that where we were was bad, but this is like we're there.
He's got some style to it now. Yeah, I really like it.
I would like to plug two things about the site as well, and I'd like everybody, if you're a mobile user, to check the news feed. The news feed is always going to be, that's where you're going to get the most content, always like direct, when you don't have the bells and whistles. But the homepage is awesome too, but it's just a little more extensive.
You know what my favorite part is?
What's that?
I mean, the website, it's like going from the dark ages to the new day. But my favorite part, you scroll down just a little bit, and you got the Twitter feed section of the website where you can see tweets going out from Panther players. You can see tweets that are dedicated to coming out from Panther reporters, from the C3 crew.
It's like a Panthers tweet hub, isn't it?
It is. It's pretty awesome, man. I mean, you don't have to sit there and search in your search feed in Tweetcaster anymore. You just go to catchronicles.com and you can see everything Panthers on Twitter.
Yeah, one look. The other thing that I want to implore people to do is I really want to get the Fanatics open mic thread to take off eventually. It's going to take a lot of hard work because people are so inundated with material that we don't like to engage as much just because there's so much. But I do want to develop a real grassroots conversation there. So please, if you have a moment, check the open mic section, leave a comment, let us know. We'll interact, and we'll just talk about the Panthers, and obviously we'll share and keep each other from going to the rusty razor blade.
Right. I want to mention that Straight Facts just sent in a tweet, and he said that if we sign Santonio Holmes, that takes care of our punt return and receiver need, opposite of Benjamin there. I don't know how old.
That makes me think. We do have a very fast wide receiver on our team.
We do, Stephen Hill.
Yeah, 6'4", very fast. Now, he is not a great receiver, granted, but he will stretch the field.
That's very true.
He's got to be better than Avant. Last thing to plug, and speaking of Straight Facts is going to be starting a channel up, folks, that we are going to affiliate on the website. So be sure to support that and come and watch the C3 Network, where you can find the work of people like Straight Facts or Scott Karasik, the Jurassic, or even us.
Hey,
Yes,
my favorite part of the website is the C3 TV. I got lots of favorites about this website, but
Yeah, check it out. You will too. It's really an upgrade. It's something that we're very proud of, and we did it for you because all this we do because we're fans and we do it for fans. All right, enough about us. I just I would like to take a poll and I guess get everybody's predictions for the game against the Falcons. I'll start with you, Ken. What do you see the score being in this Panthers-Falcons matchup?
Well, really haven't thought about it that much, but just given the way our defense hadn't been able to stop anybody, and the fact that the Falcons do have some talent at the skill positions, and our offensive troubles, I don't see us keeping up with them. I'm thinking something like 34-20, Falcons.
Okay. I mean, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, and with us getting to 20 in garbage time again, something's got to change, and they've got to show me something. They've got to show me, they've got to get hit in the mouth and then get back up and fight and show me that they can.
But they just gotten hit in the mouth and cried in the corner for 4 weeks.
I know. That's exactly right. And they've got to, at some point, somebody on that team's got to say a man isn't about, what he does. It's about what he does after he gets knocked down.
Right.
That's your measure of a manhood. Now start acting like, come on.
So basically, we just need to have Byron Bell and Amini Silatulu lead all the meetings.
You need people to step
down and nobody else get on the bus.
Yeah, you need people to get on the bus, and not the short bus either.
Aaron, your prediction for
all right. Well, I'm taking a different approach this week. I think I'm gonna take the page out of the professor's book last week. I'm gonna try to use some reverse psychology, but I could really see this happening. Unfortunately, I agree with Ken that their offensive weapons. If we don't get pressure on Meg Ryan, it's going to be ugly. And I just don't see us keeping up. I think the wheels have come off the bus, to use that analogy. I hope I'm wrong. I hope next week y'all say, man, I can't believe that you predicted the Falcons to beat the Panthers 41-7. That's what I'm
thinking. Oh,
that's
a bold prediction.
I tell you what, if that score comes true, I will be sick next Wednesday because I will not want to hear it from Scott Karasik.
One way I look at it,
I'll tell you that right now.
One way I look at it is it's not going to be any worse than my prediction.
Famous last words is going to be 55-7.
Oh,
you watch it's going to be like Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl. Safety first.
I am. I'll go next. And I'm going the other way. I think that the defenses are going to dominate this game, and the offenses are going to struggle, and it's going to be a low-scoring affair. And I am picking the Panthers to win in a close one, 13-9.
Oh.
Well, that happens sometimes. I've seen that happen more times. I mean, not necessarily Panthers, but just in football in general. You go in and you hear about the offenses, and it's 10-7 at the end. So.
Tony, last but not least, birthday boy, what do you got?
I have no faith in the Carolina Panthers, and I want to, man. I wanted to pick them. I picked them in Cincinnati. I picked them in Green Bay. It doesn't matter. They haven't shown me anything that makes me think that they should even be an NFL team right now, and I have no reason to pick them. I mean, if I pick them, it's just going to be on blind loyalty of just saying at some point we got to win.
The home game against the Raiders when they're facing their third-string quarterback.
Right. And, I think that Julio Jones is talented. I think that Meg Ryan is pretty good. And I say 27-17. Atlanta Falcons. Panthers, I just don't even know. I don't know how Ron Rivera can motivate a group of guys who don't think that they can win.
Yeah.
That's what it's coming down to now.
Are we doing ice up picks?
Guys, before we get off the air, let's do ice up sun picks. All right? You want to
All
kick that
right,
off?
All right, you go
okay,
first.
we will, but before we do, let me throw this out there. Straight Facts threw in his prediction, and he's got the Panthers winning 28-24 in a shootout.
I would love it.
Wow, good for him.
I
All
love
right.
I hope you're right, Straight Facts.
it. I hope you're right, buddy.
Go ahead, Aaron, with your ice up.
All right. So for those who don't know, the Ice Up Sun pick is in honor of our man Steve Smith. From the Ice Up moment last year, this is where we call out anybody, whether it be on the Panthers, it could be in pop culture, it could be a fan, it could be somebody on Twitter, it could be somebody in the front office, but somebody that you're calling out to ice up and to turn things around. For me, I'm looking right at the guy who I have a lot of respect for, and he's a Panther all-time leading rusher, class act, a guy that we all pull for. A lot of good things for this organization, but on the opening drive, you're talking about having to set the tone early. You put the ball on the ground, and then later in the game, we've got some momentum going, and you block. You know, I don't even want to put down little girls by saying you block like a little girl. I mean, he blocked terribly. He got run over by the guy we made look like LT. I mean, it was horrendous, and that led to the problems. Cam had no chance in that play whatsoever. It was awesome. If we're going to win, guys are going to have to step up, quit shooting ourselves in the foot, quit sucking. Angelo Williams, ice up, son.
Nice.
I think it's also important to add that D'Angelo Williams hasn't addressed the media. He's been out of his own. He's been out of it.
Yeah.
Somehow, personality-wise. And the other thing is our scheme seems to ask our backs to be productive blockers because of the way our line is set up. And
yeah.
he didn't look like he tried on that block that you're talking about.
He didn't.
I've seen more and more of that where on any given play, and it's not just the Panthers, it's any team where a guy just doesn't try. And I mean, people kill to be in the NFL, and then you get in the NFL and you don't even try to make a tackle. What's wrong with you?
I think you all agree with me. D'Angelo Williams needs to ice up.
Ice up.
Ice up, D. Williams.
That's right.
Ken, what about you? Who's your pick?
Well, kind of what I was saying earlier is, when you're a guy that's been in the NFL a few years, been around the block enough to know where, what you should do, where you should be, and break the habits that you came into the league with, and not only when you haven't done that, you're starting to do it more than you were, even as the season began, and you can't have that happen at the most important position on the team, and that's where everybody looks up to is Cam Newton. So as far as not being on the same page as your receivers, don't let it happen twice. Get in his face on the sideline or whatever, or in the huddle and say, you be here. This is where the ball goes. Or when you're going back to pass, know where your spot is. Don't, go take a 4-yard drop when you're supposed to take a 7 or 8-yard drop. There's, their spots are there for a reason. Everything's built around it. You got to be a team player. You've got to focus on your job instead of getting tunnel vision on your primary receiver and not knowing what's going around you. Cam Newton, ice up, son.
Well done.
All right. Well said, Ken. Well said. I'll go next. And mine goes to a certain general manager of the Carolina Panthers. Again, I keep hitting this at home because where I was raised, I don't know where you were raised, Ed Gettleman, in the Northeast, but where I was raised, when you make a mistake or your plans don't work out and you make a bad call, you own up to it. You face the music. And obviously where you were raised, you weren't raised that way. And that's not right. We deserve, as fans, we deserve better than that. We deserve some type of explanation for the steaming hot pile of garbage you have out on the field. And I think you need to address the media, you need to address the fans, you need to come out of hiding. So Dave Gettleman, I'm talking to you when I say, ice up, son.
Oh, very well done, man. I think that needs to be a cut.
Ice up, DG. Ice up, DG. We don't drink your Kool-Aid no more.
Yeah, nice job. Nice job. All right, so we'll
All
leave
right,
we'll leave the last Ice Up Sun pick of the night to the birthday boy, the professor. Everybody out there watching, join us. Tell the professor happy birthday. Who's it going?
All right. Yeah. All right. This is what I got for you. I got a long list of undistinguished people that I want to call out on the Ice Up. It's more than one. I'm just going to go ahead and say the entire offensive line. The entire offensive line, particularly Byron Bell and Amini, whatever, Team Amini, Silatulu, y'all mugs got made fools of. And I'm not asking you to be great. I don't expect you to be all that good, to be honest. But to look that to bad is just, you should be embarrassed. So my first Ice Up pick goes to y'all. Suckers laying on your back. One dude on the radio said that they were on their back more than Jenna Jameson.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I was like, well, you know, I mean, that's visual and true. The other thing, my next Ice Up pick goes to Thomas Deku for that stupid-ass celebration you did when they then, I think, went on to, like, score a touchdown probably. Who knows? I mean, but, like, come on. You're getting killed, and you suck, too. And you made a good play. You made the play that we needed you to play, but get your ass right back out there and just get back into playing football. And my third and final Ice Up pick goes to a dude by the name of Chris Maragos, who plays for the Philadelphia Eagles, who tried to act like he stripped the ball from a Carolina Panther when they were down. Brinson Burson was down for like 8 minutes. He was taking a nap on the ground. He was tackled so long. And then the Maragos dude rips the ball away and then tries to act like he's got a fumble and runs around. And then they called a penalty on the play. And the Maragos dude is over there by the refs expecting them to call it a fumble. It wasn't even – he's stupid. So this goes to you, Chris Maragos. Keep your ass on the sidelines and ice up.
Yeah, Ice Up all you guys.
That was a good one.
Right on.
I like those.
All right, well, with that, we are out. Thank you for joining us, and tune in tomorrow night for a Southbound and Down podcast, and join us here every Tuesday night, and please go check out the new website. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yep, CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Thanks for
Well, good for us.
Panther fans, and I hope the therapy session helped us all. I know it helped me. I feel a little better. I still hate Dave Gettleman, and I want to know where he is, but I do feel better than when I came in, and that's the bottom line. Guys, thanks for coming on tonight. Tony, again, happy birthday to you. Enjoy your conference, and have a good night, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks. Good night.
Thanks, guys.